rock, everybody. It's just out here vibing on a Tuesday. What are the days of the week, like, actually?
What?
Welcome back, Shawn.
What does that even mean?
Welcome
what
into
does
the
that mean, Kobe Bryant?
PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri. He's Shawn DePaz.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I am.
Shane Diefenbach is not here.
Avoiding me, as always.
We're just trading you guys. Last I checked, he decided to go to Disneyland to see if the mouse had taken you.
Yeah, no,
You survived your bout with the mouse?
I did. Yeah, no, the mouse is dead and I have killed him. I love Disneyland. I hate the mouse.
That's fair. What about all the other characters? Is it just like a mouse thing?
No, they're pretty cool. Is as Mickey being like basically the figurehead of one of the largest or like the largest media corporation in America and one of the largest in the world. Is he underrated or overrated? Does Mickey get too much credit or not enough?
I feel like, are we talking like all time? Or
just in general. Just like
I feel like he's underrated. I feel like all of Disney does not get enough like notice.
Yeah, but on the other hand, when's the last time you watched a Mickey Mouse movie? Like, I feel like all of these other characters have put Mickey on their back and carried Mickey to like relevance.
Who is Mickey in terms of athletes wise? Let's play that
Michael
game
Jordan.
real quick. Is he?
Yeah,
but he's not like Jordan. He's not prime Jordan right now.
No,
he's Jordan.
He's Michael Jordan. He's gonna always be considered one of, if not the greatest.
Who's Goofy?
And understandably so. Goofy is Dennis Rodman.
Like, you're going all old timey players.
Well, my thing with Mickey is that, like, sure, everyone's gonna talk about Mickey. Sure, he's got his picture on everything. He's whatever. There's the statue of Mickey when you walk in, but he's not the greatest. Mickey didn't do shit until Minnie showed up. Like, Mickey, Minnie's Pippin. Like,
I thought you were gonna go Phil Jackson.
No, yeah, maybe. Like, no, Phil is Walt. Walt is Phil.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
You're not that good. You're not as good as people like to say you are. You didn't do shit until you had a supporting cast. Then you were just Steamboat Willie.
What about Pluto, the dog?
That's Steve Kerr.
Absolutely love it. Let's talk ASU football. We'll go straight from Disney to ASU football.
It's more magic.
We've talked about all the position groups, it feels like, but we've kind of danced our way. We've done the delicate dance around the quarterbacks as they stand right now, but we've only got one more spring practice until the spring game Saturday morning at noon. They had a scrimmage this morning, a midweek scrimmage at Sun Devil Stadium. So I know you and we've both been to a lot of these practices, and I just want to get a feel for what you've seen from these quarterbacks. So we'll break them down, starting with Trenton Bourguet, a guy who we saw last season really step up for Arizona State when they needed him most with the whole Emory Jones situation, whether it be injuries or just getting benched. I think he really stood in there given the difficulty of last season with the coaching. And obviously, Kenny named him the starter in the kind of pre-spring when we had interviews, and he's like, he was here last year. It's his job to lose. From what you've seen, would you say it is still his job to lose?
I would say so, and not necessarily because of anything he's done, although he has been very good. None of the other quarterbacks have done anything to be like, well, yeah, that guy needs to be starting. Like, no one, I think, has really
blown you away.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, obviously, mainly because he's the most well-known, like, Bourguet is the guy I trust the most.
Yeah.
And not just based off of what the other guys have done, but he's been very solid. Like, obviously the pass catchers have done a lot, and they have made these quarterbacks look pretty good so far this spring. But you saw him with less talent, and all due respect to the coaches of last year, I would argue in an inferior coaching staff. He produced last year, and the opportunity he was given against the same opponents, more or less, that he's going to play this year. So I have a lot of faith in him. Should he end up being the starting quarterback, I am not going to have any complaints about that decision.
Yeah, I think something that impresses me about Trenton, and again, when we get to these scrimmages and we get to see them up close field level consistently, right, versus what fans see on a Saturday in Sun Devil Stadium, is Trenton Bourguet is not a tall quarterback.
No.
Right? He is one of the smaller quarterbacks on the roster, and really all the quarterbacks that Arizona State have, none of them blow you away from a size perspective. But something about Trenton is he is significantly shorter than his offensive lineman. So to see some of the throws that he makes, and they're not based off of the fact that he is super crazy athletic, but he is so intelligent that he will throw people open or he will throw to where the receiver and tight end is supposed to be. Now, part of that is the trust factor that he's got with some of these players like a Jalen Conyers.
100%.
It helps that he's his roommate, right? You're able to build that chemistry. But for him to stand in there, and sometimes you look at last season, the offensive line, and they'd probably tell you, wasn't that great, right? The offensive line this year is still kind of a question mark, at least for me. So you don't necessarily know what protection's going to be like, right? But part of Kenny's system is getting the ball out quick, being consistent, and living to see another down, pretty much. And I think when you break all that down, the best fit for that is a Trenton Bourguet, 100%. Right? A guy that doesn't turn the ball over, and he's smart enough to understand that it is not a sprint. These football games and the season really is a marathon.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Oregon's team last year. Like, one of the things that made them so valuable, obviously outside of how good of a quarterback he was, is Bo Nix is a very tough guy. Like, he was forced to run. He was whatever. And I think that's something you saw with Bourguet last year, is obviously not the running, but he was a guy that would stand in there and take hits if he needed to. And I think that's something, especially considering the quarterbacks, but really Jaden Daniels, like what ASU fans have gone through with a quarterback who one of his biggest complaints was that he would opt to run a little too often and not stand in there and go through his progressions. I don't feel like that's a problem with Trenton Bourguet. And like you said, in a system that relies so heavily on getting the ball out fast and making those quick decisions, that is something you can. I feel like I have no problem trusting Trenton Bourguet with, and not that I have a problem with that with like Drew Pyne, for example, or Rashada. But obviously Rashada is young, and it's going to be a learning curve for him specifically. But I just, like I had said, you know what you're getting with Trenton Bourguet, and I like what you're getting with him. So there's a lot of reasons why I think he could not just kind of. I'm not saying he's going to be Bo Nix. He's not going to be a Heisman candidate, but I think he can be a very good quarterback in this system with this coaching staff, with this offensive talent he has. Even if the offensive line is not that great, because like we saw and like we know, he's going to have opportunities to make plays fast, and I trust they'll do that.
Yeah, and you got to figure the running game too.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, like a lot of these quarterbacks, they're again. I hate to bark on these guys because they're a lot shorter than the prototypical quarterback. But you look at some of the other quarterbacks in the conference, a DJ Uiagalelei or a Caleb Williams, even, like, these are guys that they've got the intangibles to go out there and make those crazy plays. Not to say that Trenton isn't capable of doing it, but he's not capable, in my mind, of doing that at a consistent rate like you see Caleb Williams do almost every quarter, right? So I think something that's going to benefit Trenton, whether he's a starter or really any of the quarterbacks, is the run game, whether that is a Cam Scatterbo or a Tevin White or a DeCarlos Brooks, right? Or even a Javen Jacobs that you'll see in there.
And I mean, like, I hesitate to make this comparison for obvious reasons, but I think there's obvious reasons to make the comparison. Look at Stetson Bennett, the mailman.
Yeah,
the dude
true.
Was a walk-on. And you look at his game, he is not crazy talented. Like, he's like physical attributes, he doesn't really have them. He's not a big guy. He's not super athletic. He doesn't have a crazy arm. But when you have a really good defense, a good run game, really good talent, obviously none of which ASU has to the extent that Georgia has, but still, solid pieces here and there and really good coaching. Yeah, you can make a quarterback that is not hella talented, specifically in college football, make him look really good. And I think this is a perfect marriage from the coaching staff to who Trenton is, to have, again, not to that level, but a similar kind of breakout that you saw with Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac in the chat. Completely unrelated. Good luck to Willie and the boys tonight at GCU. Yeah. ASU baseball. We talked about it yesterday. Back in the top 25. They've got GCU tonight. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But getting back to the quarterbacks, I want to move on now to Drew Pyne. A guy who I think the expectation was for him to be the favorite going into probably fall camp, given the fact that he was a Notre Dame transfer. We've seen him play in high-level games or super competitive games. For what it's worth, this spring, him and Trenton are very similar athletes. Neither one of them is, again, going to blow you away in terms of arm talent, but they're both very smart quarterbacks. They're both guys that are their game really relies on picking you apart time and time again. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. And again, that works in Kenny's system because, like I talked with Shane while you were gone last week, this offense is built to, okay, we're going to beat you fast. And then right when you start to play up, expecting that fast play or whatever to kind of break up the pace, they're going to hit you deep, or they'll hit you with something that you're not expecting. And I think that kind of fits both of these guys. Now, something that I think it's taking Drew a little bit more time than maybe expected is the fact that he is so used to playing behind a top 5 offensive line every single year. And again,
this is
not to say that Arizona State's offensive line is going to be bad. It's just kind of an unknown.
But I mean, it's like we're talking about
again, like the Georgia
LSU secondary.
Exactly.
Like they're on a different level.
Yes. Notre Dame is built in the trenches. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So in terms of Drew Pyne and what he was able to accomplish last year, like he's got a little bit more time, or had a little bit more time in the past to go through his reads, to go through his progressions, and then find the open guy, or then settle and make a play with his legs. Here it is, okay, you've got to move a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Not only do you not have a Joe Moore type of offensive line in front of you, but you also, the system is different, right?
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees, their whole system last year was built on the fact that they were going to run it down your throats because that's what they were capable of doing, and then they'd rely on their defense. Very old school style of play. For Arizona State, that's not really the case, right? It's, yes, they're going to run the football. They've got the play action, but they've got quick plays. Like, they scheme people open. For Drew, I feel like it is taking him a little bit longer than expected to just get accustomed to not having that offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how long him and the coaching staff are going to wait to get to that point, really.
That's fair. And I think another thing that Bourguet has in his advantage is he's been playing behind probably worse offensive lines in his time at ASU, and obviously that's not the case for Drew Pyne. And I mean, one thing that I think that Drew definitely has over Bourguet is his athleticism, and
he's quick, man.
He is quick, and he is willing to get out of the pocket if he needs to. My concern, getting back to the Jaden Daniels thing, is now that he is going to have less time to make these decisions, what is his ability to make the correct decision going to look like? Is he going to be able to make those plays? And that's the big question mark. Obviously, you love to have a guy who has played around the excellence that he has, but like we're saying, it can go one of two ways. You either can bring that with you, or you could struggle to play with what is, by and large, lesser talent.
Yeah.
At least on the offensive line. So it is a big question. It is definitely a big question, but I do like kind of that athleticism that he brings. And I mean, they talk about it with Kyle. He's a small guy. He's listed at 6 foot. I don't know if he's 6 foot.
Drew,
yeah.
He's more 5'10".
Yeah.
He's not 6
I don't think he's 6 foot. When you have a guy that's that athletic, he can get lost behind the offensive line. And so to see if they can, and obviously a lot smaller than Bo Nix, but Bo Nix was a very effective running quarterback last year with Oregon. You have that kind of athletic ability with Drew Pyne. It'd be interesting to see if they could utilize that should he get the opportunity to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I think what you see, Kenny had talked about it early on, right? Like, I don't think you're going to expect to keep all of these quarterbacks after spring ball.
No, yeah.
Right? Obviously, it's in Arizona State's benefit to eventually name a starter sooner rather than later. But the thing for ASU in terms of the quarterbacks that they have, right, a Trenton Bourguet, a Drew Pyne, a Jacob Conover, right, and you see it at the NFL level, right, is a lot of the backup quarterbacks mirror the same capabilities that the starters have. I look back at like what Seattle did for so long, where they had Russell Wilson and they had a guy like a Travaris Jackson, or they had a Geno Smith.
Baltimore has figured this out perfectly.
Exactly, right? Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley. You've got players that are similar in style and they can fit the offense. And I think that's what you have in a Trenton Bourguet and a Drew Pyne, regardless of who ends up being your starter, right?
Yeah.
Is you've got a very capable backup in whoever it is that mirrors the talent of the starter, who mirrors the intangibles of the starter.
Yeah, and I think that was a problem that you ran into last year. Is you had two quarterbacks
that were very different,
and it seemed like the system they had was a little more built for the backup, and then the backup ended up being successful when they go in. I think, that is obviously you can't necessarily expect to have all of these guys, specifically a guy like Drew Pyne.
We've seen 5 quarterbacks this spring pretty consistently in Bourguet, Pyne, Conover, Rashada, and Meredith.
Yeah, and specifically with that Pyne Bourguet comparison, like there's certainly a lot of value in having a guy that can kind of just pick up where you left off, and you don't really have to change your system or anything if your starting guy goes down. And obviously, I think Rashada is really the odd man out here in terms of what he's capable of doing. He's a little different build, obviously, and I think has a little more arm talent, but obviously is a lot more raw than the other two guys. But
I'll be honest, I think he's got a lot more arm talent.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He does have a lot. He's very similar to Jaden Rashada in a lot of ways. He's spectacular.
You mean Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels, excuse me. Yeah. Obviously similar build, spectacular arm talent, has the ability to move if he needs to, but I think makes better decisions, at least based on his high school tape, made better decisions than Jaden Daniels did here at ASU. Getting back to what you're saying, I do think having a guy, it would be dope if you were able to keep all of these quarterbacks. Obviously, that's not really the situation we are in anymore in college football. But if it somehow happens, you are in a very good position, even if you do lose your starter.
Yeah, I don't think it ever hurts to have an extra quarterback on the roster that is capable. Obviously, you look in, whether it be spring ball or fall camp, whatever, like the whole iron sharpens iron thing, like that is certainly true, regardless of talent. Like just having competition there every single day, every single practice, pushing each other to be better because you want to be the starter, right? Like take that in any work environment.
Yeah.
If there is 3 people fighting for one position and the boss is like, I'm going to give this to the best person possible, then like you're going to be competing your ass off every single day to get that one spot.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you don't have that spot, like eventually your goal in mind is to get to that point, to always be grinding to get to that point. So yes, keeping all of those guys, I think, I don't want to call it a pipe dream, but you never know.
It's unlikely in today's college football landscape.
Yeah, but I would say my final argument point on that would be if there was a university to keep multiple quarterbacks or really any position group, like people want to come play for Kenny.
Yeah.
People want to come play for this coaching staff right now. People love the fact that you are in the state of Arizona, a beautiful place, like 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is a place regardless, even if you're the backup quarterback, like you've seen Blue Mountain State, like
it's the perfect life.
It's the best job in all of sports.
Yeah.
It's the backup quarterback on a college roster, specifically at Arizona State.
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen. Before we move on to Jaden Rashada and the other quarterbacks on the roster, give me, and I know you are the world's biggest fan of player comps. So why don't you give me a player comp at the NFL level for a Trenton Bourguet and a Drew Pyne?
I mean, I feel like we talked about this a little bit. Obviously, this is ridiculous, but I mean, Drew Brees, like especially with Drew Pyne, I feel like is a small guy, but I don't know. I just feel like the guys that are not going to like wow you with any particular part of their game.
So Kirk Cousins,
yeah, but Kirk is bigger. Like that's why I also hesitated to say like, because like Joe Burrow's the same way. No part of his game is going to blow you out of the water, but it's like you look at it all in composite, and it's like that's a pretty solid quarterback, which is why I think Drew Brees fits, particularly their size. I don't know though.
I'm gonna go Kirk for Trenton.
Okay.
I think again, taking away the whole size argument, he's a quarterback that is you look at the way the Vikings ran their offense. It is a unit that again is death by a million cuts. Like this is what they do. They're going to run it with Dalvin Cook, and then guess what? They've got Jay Jettis out there. He's going to have 12 catches a game for $180. Guess what? ASU, they've got Elijah Badger. They got Jalen Conyers. They got some weapons themselves that you're going to see probably put up some pretty ridiculous numbers. And Kirk Cousins, to your point, he's not going to wow you with his arm talent. He is not going to be the guy that you see on SportsCenter the next morning because he made a crazy throw. But guess what? The Minnesota Vikings, fraudulent or not, were in the playoffs. They won their division because they got the job done when it mattered most. I think Trenton Bourguet fits that build a
Derek
lot.
Carr.
That's exactly where I was going for Drew Pyne.
Yeah.
Exactly where I was going with Drew Pyne. I think Derek Carr is a talented quarterback.
I think he's good. I think he was scapegoated by the Las Vegas Raiders.
Absolutely. And I think there are things that you are seeing. The Las Vegas Raiders offensive line wasn't very good, right? Now, again, I don't want to put all of the blame or all of the time that it is taking, it feels like, for Drew to get to that point on the offensive line, because that's not fair and that's not necessarily true by any means. But Drew Pyne, similar to Derek Carr, I think has the capability of being a really, really good quarterback. It's just finding that right fit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that fit is here or if it could be and we just it's going to take a little bit longer than maybe people expected, right? Because it's only been 3 weeks on the field.
I think it's kind of quarterback where they're very talented. It's just they're not talented enough. It's similar to Kirk Cousins too, where they're not talented enough where they're going to make a team really good.
Yeah.
Like you got to put them on a good roster and they can give you with a good roster a good chance to be a very good team.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. I think of like a guy like Mark Sanchez, who was like that team went to 2 straight AFC championships. Was it because of Mark Sanchez? Nah, but he obviously wasn't bad to the point where they couldn't get there. And I think that's all you're going to ask from guys like this when you're not getting the Caleb Williams out of these guys. Like you're not getting a game breaker. You just need them to stay the ship.
And I want to reiterate, like we talk about these guys separating them, whatever you'll see as fall camp goes, or even in the spring game. I am personally comfortable with either one of these guys starting at quarterback. I know we're getting into it, and not necessarily picking them apart, but just describing their game or what we've seen. Again, Drew Pyne and Trenton Bourguet are serviceable quarterbacks at this level for Arizona State. Before we get into the Jaden Rashadas, the Jacob Conover, want to tell you guys about BetMGM. If you didn't know, NBA playoffs start this week. We got some play-in games tonight. The right place to bet on them, guys, is BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX, and you guys are going to get up to $200 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Super simple. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code PHNX. Shawn, you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Signing up using bonus code PHNX.
Okay.
Then what? You're going to place a pregame money line wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market at standard odds price. And guess what? You're going to receive $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Do they have to win?
Regardless of the outcome of your win.
So you mean I could put, I was talking to you a little earlier. I think the Timberwolves could shock some people tonight if things go their way. So you're telling me I don't, it's not really taking much of a risk. I can put my $10 on Timberwolves to win. If they win, I get that money. Even if they don't,
you get the money.
I'm getting money.
Absolutely.
I like that.
That's how it works. Guys, just make sure you use that bonus code PHNX when you sign up. Plus, join us at the BetMGM Sportsbook at State Farm Stadium for all of the Suns away playoff games. Our PHNX Suns watch parties presented by Neutral will feature food and drink specials, PHNX giveaways, and BetMGM deposit matches. Join us over there. It's going to be an absolute blast. And I know Shane is not here, but
he's always here.
Here's Shane's voice.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
It's going to be a blast out there.
It's going to be a blast. You know what else is going to be a blast? We did it last year, and I can confirm. Sometimes we have these events, and we're like, oh, it's going to be fun. And it's like, yeah, they're going to be fun because we're going to be there, but we've never done them before. We've been to Bud's Palooza.
It's fun.
It is a blast. First off, you're showing up, and they're just handing out free weed. I didn't even know you could do that. And you go around, and they're like, oh, you got to spin this wheel. Here's a free pre-roll. You walk out, and you got like 2 weeks worth of free weed at Bud's Palooza.
That's a pretty crazy world we live in.
It is a really crazy world we live in, especially when you consider 5 years ago, motherfuckers getting thrown in prison for the same shit.
True.
Anyways, Bud's Palooza is a vibe. They've got, like I said, free weed. There's great food there. They got a bunch of food trucks. They've got stand-up comedy. They've got live music. Last year, we were posted up right next to us. They were just showing movies, like classic stoner movies. So whether or not you smoke weed, it's going to be a vibe there. And on top of that, of course, we will be there. And you can come vibe. You can see us. We'll be doing a show. And we've got a new shirt for y'all.
We do.
Well, our exclusive PHNX OGs collab. The vibes are immaculate. They're always immaculate. And they'll be immaculate at Bud's Palooza. So pull through on April 14th. We'll be there, like I said. And you can get yourself one of these T-shirts. It's dope. And like I said, we'll be doing our show.
Yep.
So check out Bud's Palooza at budspalooza.com. That's budspalooza.com. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot guarantee what state of mind we'll be in, but we'll be there physically.
Yeah. OG sends me, dude.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where it is like I have to prepare because like my mind just gets hit by a truck. Like I will take one and I'll sit there and I'm going to play video games for an hour, and I'll be like 45 minutes into the game, and then it'll hit me, and I'll even go over the mic. I'll be like, guys, don't count on me here for these last couple rounds, because I'm not going to be here. Like I'll end up like losing the game or something. I'll just laugh my ass off.
Yeah. My biggest thing is that well, I mean, that's not really related to what you were just saying, but I was in California, and obviously OGs are Arizona scratchman gummies. Couldn't get the OGs out there. I forgot to stock up on I didn't forget. It's technically a felony to take weed across state lines, so I didn't do it. Wink, wink. But I was not taking the OGs while I was in California, and I was waking up every day just feeling like all kinds of groggy, stuff like that. OGs don't do that to you. And the best part about OGs is like you'll be vibing. You'll just be having a day, and then all of a sudden you'll look up and you'll be like, "Oh, the walls are moving." Not really. They don't make you hallucinate or anything, but they sneak up.
Well, we're gonna take OGs. We're gonna do Buds of Palooza, and then we're gonna go see Mario.
Yes, I cannot wait to see this Mario movie.
It's gonna be a blast. Let's get back to the quarterbacks.
It's me, Jaden Rashada.
Jaden Rashada doesn't sound like that, just so everybody's aware.
He's not an Italian plumber?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe that's his alter ego, is Mario. Jaden has been a very interesting player to watch, because week one, it was deer in headlights. It was a freshman starting like high school for the very first time. I'm not even gonna say college, but like high school for the very, very first time, where everybody's bigger and older and knows more than you, and you're just kind of like, how do I get to class? Where are my classes at? Type of thing. That was the vibe that I got from Jaden.
Yeah. Well, and you also have to remember, like, he got here early. His best friend from elementary school is getting ready for finals. like he's still in school. So it is definitely a massive adjustment.
Yeah, but he has taken that. I feel like every single week he has gotten better and better as the practices have gone on, as the system has developed a little bit more, as his skill players around him have gotten more acquainted with the system or accustomed to it. Yeah. And he's talented, dude. He is as good from a talent perspective as advertised.
Yeah, and I think, there's always an adjustment of expectations that happens when you go from getting a guy who was a 5-star, and I think a lot of people are like, well, that's the guy. We got our quarterback for the next however many years. We figured it out. And he was downgraded from a 5-star for a 4-star for a reason. He's not Caleb Williams. A, and B, regardless, there's an adjustment that happens there. But even from day one, you could tell there was a snap that was coming off the ball when he was throwing it. He obviously has incredible arm talent. The question was going to be that adjustment. And I think the nice thing is you look at this quarterback room, and we talk about the competition. And there definitely is competition, but there is also everyone is trying to make everyone better. And you saw that from day one, where the quarterbacks, whether it's with Rashada or with Pyne, and I think you've seen it a number of occasions with Rashada and Pyne specifically being the two new guys here, coaching each other up. And I feel like Rashada is definitely put in a position to succeed. And I would not, if he ends up being the starter, I think it's because something has gone wrong, which is nothing to say to him. It's just that there's obviously an advantage, a head start that Pyne and Bourguet have had. But I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm starting at quarterback. There's clear talent there. And I think you give him some time, and obviously it's just spring. You give him fall ball. He's going to be a very good quarterback.
Yeah. A Mac with a funny comment in the chat. Got him, officer. He's right here.
I did not take weed across state lines.
There we go. Just thank you for clarifying. We had to clarify for everybody yesterday to not sniff gas. So glad we could.
Do not sniff gas. It does smell really good, though.
To your point about Jaden potentially starting, saying, if he is starting, something at this point would have gone very wrong. Now, I would have said that probably 2 weeks ago, but he has looked so good over the last couple of weeks, and specifically the last two scrimmages. Something that really sticks out to me is not today's scrimmage, but I want to say a couple Saturdays ago, is he was in there getting reps, and he was rolling right, and he just threw the ball away. Nobody was open. He went through his progressions, threw it away. Now, from a basic football perspective, you see a quarterback throw the ball away, there is not a whole lot to talk about, right? He threw the ball away. You move on.
Yeah.
But it's just that. It's the fact that he was able to see that nothing was open. There is something to be said about not forcing a pass when it is 2nd and 10, 1st and 10. And Kenny talks about it. Like, he doesn't want his quarterback to turn the ball over. That's why Bo Nix was so successful at Oregon, is he knew when it was time to try and make a play, and he knew when it was to just live to see another down.
And that's what we've talked about on a couple of occasions, or at least I have, is it's the comparisons between him and Jaden Rashada are obvious for a lot of reasons. Or between him and Jaden Daniels are obvious for a lot. I hate that both their names are Jaden. Are obvious for a lot of reasons. But the big difference to me, and again, it was only high school tape, is you saw it. He made good decisions where if Jaden Daniels had been in this situation, he's scrambling.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it worked, sometimes it didn't, but that doesn't change the fact that it was probably the wrong decision to make. And you like seeing with a guy this young, especially a guy who's in a quarterback competition, is probably having to compete for a position for the first time in his life. It's natural to want to make things happen. And for him to make the good decisions here when sometimes the decision is to make nothing happen is really reassuring because there's a lot of guys that age who I was just looking at. I just saw something about Tate Martell. Remember him? He was a 5-star recruit, going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He wasn't able to make that adjustment. There's plenty of guys you could say that for. Not necessarily. I feel like you're seeing so far what you could expect from a kid this young. You're seeing him make those adjustments, and that's really reassuring.
Yeah, and we've seen the adjustments only in, again, the 3-week period.
Yes, exactly.
Like, imagine what you are going to see from him with work in the summer.
And again, he's had no time to really get, to physically get bigger or grow. Like, he hasn't had a whole summer in the weight room yet. So, and that is a huge part of it too, is you get him a little stronger. You add that on top of the arm talent and the decision making.
Yeah, that ball flies a little further, man. It's got a little.
And you've got the playmakers, man. You've got playmakers.
You do. I would not rule out seeing Jaden Rashada play this season. I wouldn't rule him out starting. Now, again, if you would have told me that I would have been at that point after the very first practice, the first 2 practices, I would have been exactly where you're at, or where you were like, yeah, there's probably a problem with the other 2. At this point, again, like, obviously there's still a lot to learn from a Jaden Rashada. And I think there's he is just barely scratching the surface of how good and talented he can be.
Yeah.
But to see this level of growth in I'm not even going to call it year 1 because technically year 1 not even started.
Minus 0.5.
With a new coaching staff, a new offense, it's definitely exciting and it's definitely promising. Jose in the chat, can we say a slight hesitation in timing, calculated risk?
Yeah, and I will say with Jaden is that he obviously brings you something different. My biggest thing with him is I would just like him. Like, there's no reason to rush him. There is no reason. This isn't the NFL. There's plenty of reason to rush him, obviously. But I'm just saying from because him staying here, no player staying is ever a guarantee. So I don't think there's obviously a risk in not playing him, but I think whatever risk you're taking is well worth the potential reward of him sitting a year, and the quarterback you could get from him next year or the year after that, I think it'd be a very good one, as opposed to rushing him in there and potentially hurting his confidence behind what is still an offensive line that still has a lot of questions. We don't know how good or bad they're going to be, but there's still a lot of questions. So I'm not gonna. Yeah, I should probably walk back what I said earlier. I'm not gonna be concerned if I don't necessarily not everything's going wrong if he's starting, but it's not the situation that I'm choosing.
Yes,
I don't think it's the ideal one.
Yeah, Jose, great effort in practice from the boys. Not one particular. Just as a unit, I think the position group has been really, really interesting. And I think going to the quarterback competition last year, if you want to call it a quarterback competition, kind of zooming out, looking now, it is a much more fierce competition this year than it was last year between Emory Jones, Paul Tyson, and Trenton Bourguet. Moving on from Rashada to Jacob Conover, again, a local guy, he got engaged. I feel like out of all the quarterbacks, he to this point is still the great unknown for me.
Exactly.
I don't know exactly, and what you brought up earlier. Right, in terms of there hasn't been a quarterback on the roster that I've seen throughout practice that has made a Caleb Williams type of play to where I'm like, holy shit, it is over. Give him the keys and let him go. Yeah. I just haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Right. And then from a Jacob Conover perspective, I don't want to say he's been jumped by Ben Meredith, but I feel like I've like literally just out there watching. It feels like I've seen more reps from Ben Meredith than I have Jacob Conover. Again, I don't know if that's like accurate, but like it just in terms of seeing it, like that's just what I've noticed. Yeah. In terms of Jacob Conover, his game is very similar to a Drew Pyne. It's very similar to a Trenton Bourguet, which is why it's been interesting for me to see all of these guys get reps, right? Because it's like, okay, I see what you have with a Jaden Rashada. I see what you have with a Drew Pyne. I see what you have with a Trenton Bourguet. And I'm looking at Jacob Conover and I'm like, okay, all of these guys bring something different to the table. I'm still waiting to see the X factor from a Jacob Conover, right? Because this is a guy that he's got a ton of eligibility left.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of potential in what he could be for you long term. You bring up Stetson Bennett in terms of an older quarterback that was able to succeed at a very, very high level. There's nothing stopping Jacob Conover from being a quarterback that, again, is not a Caleb Williams. I think they would be the first to tell you that they're not a Caleb Williams, right? But a quarterback that can be successful in the right system, given the right coaching staff and the right talent around him. And he's older, right? Being an older quarterback, it has what it like, you know, it's issues from a social media perspective or from like an outside view. But like internally from a mental standpoint, just given the fact that you are older and you've been around the game longer, odds are you are going to know more. You're going to be more experienced when it comes to some of these things. Now, he doesn't have the game experience of a Drew Pyne or a Trenton Bourguet, but like I'm still like, he's still such a mystery to me.
He is a massive mystery. And I was just looking at his bio on BYU's page. I had completely forgotten that he was coached by Shawn Aguado.
Yeah.
So there's like a little bit of a relationship. And I mean, in terms of what he offers, like he was a dual threat guy. I didn't know this either, but he ran track in high school. So there's athletic ability. But yeah, I agree. He is to me the biggest unknown. And again, like,
which is crazy that he's still he's still a great unknown, and we're almost to the spring game.
Yeah. But like you said, he's still really young. Like he hasn't really played college football yet.
Yeah.
And so I mean, obviously he's not going to have the hype that Jaden Rashada had, which is why I think he is considered a little bit more of an unknown than Rashada is. But again, now we're talking about at worst / at best the fourth quarterback on the roster, like maybe the fifth quarterback on the roster, depending on how you look at Meredith. Like that's a pretty good situation to be in. And again, he's a local kid, so you talk about the potential of losing Drew Pyne. You have to. I don't think you lose. Hope Conover. That Conover, right, is a little bit less of a flight risk.
Yeah.
And so there's to have a guy like that. I mean, look at Trenton Bourguet. Like this is a guy obviously who has a scholarship. Bourguet didn't, but like a guy who stayed here for a few years, had an opportunity, and his commitment to the program ended up being a huge asset for him because of the experience he ended up having with the system. Obviously, Jacob, that's not a situation that Jacob Conover wants to be in, right? He wants to be the starter day one. He wants to play every game. But if this is a guy who's committed to this program, I think it'd end up having a very similar role to Trenton Bourguet if he doesn't end up getting that playing experience. And I think it's something that a program can benefit from. It provides a lot of value to a program. And it also just seems to be like a good dude, right? Like the part of why he's so old is because he served his mission in Paraguay, and like he's obviously married. So like there's a maturity that comes with it, despite having so much eligibility despite having so much eligibility left, there's a certain amount of maturity that you could at least assume that he has. And so there's a lot of value that I think he provide, even if he doesn't get a whole lot of playing time.
Yeah, absolutely. The last quarterback that I want to talk about, Ben Meredith.
Yes.
A guy at the start of the spring. I don't think any. Yeah, exactly. It was who you want to talk about a giant question mark. Yeah. Everyone's like, okay, we've got the four quarterbacks competing. You've got a Drew Pyne, a Jaden Rashada, a Trenton Bourguet, and a Jacob Conover. And then you roll out there the first couple practices of spring ball, and you see Ben Meredith, who, from simply a build perspective,
that's the biggest thing with him.
He is built like a quarterback. He is the tallest of the five that we've talked about, whatever. And he is just he
looks like a quarterback.
yeah, that's the best way to put it.
He looks like a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like
he's what you'd want to see, like from just a build perspective. See Jaden look like after a summer or two in the gym.
Exactly. So Jaden Rashada is listed at 6'4", 185. Meredith is listed at 6'3", 195, right? So he has kind of like a little bit more of the girth that you're looking for from a quarterback that you kind of get in a Pyne and a Bourguet, but he has that height, the actual ability to see over the offensive line that you get in a Jaden Rashada. And I mean, we've heard that there's players on the team who have been impressed by what he's done. And so obviously, is he really competing for that starting job? Probably not. But again, neither was Trenton Bourguet. Bourguet was the third string in a lot of. I mean, obviously, he was never the third string, but in a lot of ways, like he was that third guy out going into fall camp last year, or at least spring ball last year. And so again, talking about a guy who has a lot of eligibility and has the opportunity to at the very least fill a role like Bourguet has filled the last few years if he does decide to stay here. The difference between him is he's from Alabama, so it's not necessarily the intrinsic tie to ASU like there is, or to the area at least like there is with a guy like Conover. But I just love having a guy that can give you something different in terms of being a 6'3", 195 guy, a guy that is just, at least physically speaking, your stereotypical quarterback. Again, having that kind of that versatility in the quarterback room, I think, is valuable.
Yeah. I mean, while we're talking versatility, guys, I want to tell you about the versatility that Burrito Express brings on the daily.
I miss that.
They've literally got something for everybody at all of their locations across the valley. We tell you about it every single day, and it's because we believe in Burrito Express. The food that they have is next level, and the service is, I mean, it's unmatched, guys. And if you're big on supporting Arizona State athletes, they've got some NIL athletes in Elijah Badger and Jazz Hill. So anytime you go get a breakfast burrito or a burrito for lunch from Burrito Express, you're technically supporting Arizona State athletes as well. So go check them out and give them a follow on social at Burrito EXP. Shawn, did you know that the Arizona Cardinals,
are they good? Oh, no. Yeah, they're awful. Yeah, they're not really good. But, you get rewarded for not being very good by having a high pick in the draft.
This is true. This is very true.
Because either you'll get a new player, or if you do what they did last year, you trade it away for like a mid player.
It's looking like they might trade.
They might trade back, but trade back, draft at 3, whatever they decide to do. Maybe fold the entire franchise. Maybe the NFL gets canceled. Who knows what happens? But let's be together when it does. And not, you could be anywhere. But why would you be anywhere other than Four Peaks? It's the best spot. It's the best spot for just like lunch or dinner or beer, but it's definitely the best spot for a draft. And we'll be there. Like I said, April 27th for the NFL draft. Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. Johnny, or as Leah calls them, Joe and Bonnie.
Joe and Bonnie, oh my gosh.
That was a stumble this morning, but it turned into something great.
Yeah, Joe and Bonnie, baby.
It's their alter ego.
Their alter ego.
They get a few Four Peaks in them and they turn into Joe and Bonnie.
It's electric.
Yeah, and they'll have an opportunity to get some Four Peaks in them because we got some deals. $3 Redbird Lager pints, and you're like, well, I'm gonna be having a few. Get yourself a pitcher. $5 for a pitcher of Redbird Lager. $1 for every 1 star that you should leave when you leave a review on the show, by the way. And our usual PHNX specials: $3 Kilt Lifter, $3 Wow. We're gonna have some fun. We're there to get you some delicious Four Peaks and the vibes.
Just vibe.
So pull through. April 27th, Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. But as always, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy Four Peaks. But you don't got to be 21 or older to be at the bar.
True.
To be at the Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. So pull through. Men, women, child.
Alien.
Yeah. Animal. Service animal. I don't think you could just bring like a random dog in there. But if it's a service animal, pull through.
Let's go ahead. And I know we gave comps to Bourguet and Pyne. So for the 3 that we just talked about, starting with Jaden Rashada, do you have a player comp for him?
Jaden Daniels.
Is that where
I mean,
I got one for you.
Physically speaking, Jaden Daniels for sure. I'm trying to think. I feel like I can visualize somebody that I'm thinking of.
You know who he is?
Who?
He's Geno Smith.
Okay. I was going to say Jameis Winston just because he's clearly got arm talent. The question is just like, obviously differently than Jameis, but like, I don't want to say mentally, but like, is the game going to slow down for him? Because it doesn't seem like it ever really did for Jameis, which is why he throws so many gosh damn interceptions. But he clearly has talent. It's just a matter of can the rest of it catch up?
Yeah.
But Geno.
Yeah, I'm going to go Geno. The arm talent is there. I do think Jaden has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, similar to Gino, just because of everything that happened with the NIL stuff and him coming even to Arizona State. You know, not anybody really talking about him being the starter, right? And I think he tweeted something along the lines of he's not trying to prove anything to anybody. He's just trying to get better, right?
Yeah.
It's just the vibe that he gives me is very like, I like the fact that you doubt me, right? Or that you don't think that I can be as good as people think I can be, right? I think you get that from him, and I think he is going to at some point be the guy for Arizona State, and people are going to be like, damn, I see why he was a 5-star. I see why he was a 4-star. I see why people were trying to pay him all this money. So I'll give him Gino. Looking at a guy like a Jacob Conover, where I have no idea what you're going to get from him. He's the one that really I don't know. But if I had to give one, I'm going to go Gardner Minshew. I think he has got that level of athleticism, right, to where he's not a Lamar Jackson, right, where you know he can beat you with his legs.
Yeah.
He is not a Josh Allen where you know he's going to beat you with his athleticism, or a Herbert that's going to beat you with his arm. But guess what? He's got like little pieces of all of these games.
It's Joe Burrow. And obviously not Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow.
He's Gardner Minshew.
I mean, I do love that comparison. That's a much better one than Joe Burrow. But I mean, it's the kind of quarterback where it's like you look at, I mean, Tom Brady's the same way. You look at him, it's like, why is he even good? You can't deny that he's good. And obviously, when it's all said and done, he's clearly good. But like, it's like, what is he? He's not faster than the other quarterbacks. He's not stronger. Yeah. Tom Brady is bad. But like, yeah, Joe Burrow is like, and Gardner Minshew. He's not faster, but he can surprise you.
Yeah.
He's not throwing the ball 80 yards, but you give him an opportunity, he'll beat you with his arm. He's not making mistakes. It's just like, all of a sudden I like that.
That's how I'm going to go. My final comp, we got Ben Meredith. Now, some people might hear this and they're going to be disgusted, but I give me Davis Mills. And I'm a believer in Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Davis Mills despite his long ass giraffe neck. I mean, in terms of just build, right? Ben Meredith is the tallest quarterback, or one of the taller quarterbacks. We already talked about that. I like the arm talent there. In terms of where I see the real comparison is it's guys that have talent, they've got size, they can be starting quarterbacks, but you're waiting for it all to come together.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, what's really missing for Ben Meredith, at least as it stands right now, is I think I'm still waiting for it all to just kind of combine into this one quarterback. And then him, who is very capable, I think, of being a starter, whether it be at this level or a D2 level or a JUCO, or not a JUCO, like a Mountain West team.
Yeah.
Like, I think he could certainly go be a starter there, at least right now. But if it all clicks, I mean, he's certainly got to be in the conversation for starting if it all clicks, just because of what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably see on my screen where I'm going with this, but I mean, you look.
That.
You look like a guy like Jared Goff, where it's just like, I mean, obviously talented, and again, another guy who physically is like, he looks like a stereotypical quarterback. Jared Goff's 6'4", but like is it a guy that's blowing you away? No, but you put him in the right situation without a lot of pressure, and all of a sudden he's putting up numbers on you, and you're like, huh? But you put him on a team where it's like everything else is going really well, and it's like, okay, he's clearly the weakness there. But you put him in a situation like Detroit, and he's like, oh, he's clearly a really good quarterback. Not the best, but he's a good quarterback, and he provides you something based just solely off his size and stuff like that. Obviously, again, it's a great unknown with Ben Meredith and with a couple of these quarterbacks. Yeah. But you look at who he is physically and what maybe he could be. Obviously, we are comparing guys at the bottom of a depth chart and a team that's at the bottom of a Power 5 conference to NFL quarterbacks. So this is not going to be a perfect comparison by any means, but
it's what we've got.
Yeah,
it's what we've got, guys. Want to tell you guys a little bit about Mountain Mike's. The fact that you're back means you get to have some Mountain Mike's pizza.
Yeah, I was worried because I was like, oh, they brought it yesterday. Nope. I'm not going to get it.
Max
whatever.
hit us with, you're going to be fed on Wednesday. So definitely looking forward to Mountain Mike's tomorrow, guys. We get them just about, twice a month we get Mountain Mike's pizza. And it's that good, dude. The wings specifically, I'm a big wings guy because I can't really do pizza, right? Because it hurts the tummy, you know. Shout out to Xavier Guillory. I'm working on tolerating my my lactose intolerance. But Mountain Mike's Pizza, they got lunch buffets, they got locations in Mesa, buffet. Chandler, or Tucson. Just check them out, okay? Check out Mountain Mike's. You're not going to be disappointed. Head over to mountainmikespizza.com or to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to place your next order. And as a reminder, new diehards get a $50 voucher upon signing up. So go become a diehard for all of the other amazing reasons. And as a reward, you're going to go get $50 at Mountain Mike's.
Yeah, you get $50 at Mountain Mike's. And when you become a diehard, you get a free shirt or a hat. We showed you our awesome OG shirt earlier. Coyotes launched a new shirt with the with Four Peaks. This shit was crazy. Orange shirt. Look at the little detail at the bottom of the head. It is the Four Peaks. A whole new color thrown in. This is our first orange shirt.
I didn't even see that.
The Four Peaks at the bottom?
Yes. Oh, damn.
Devil's in the details, baby. So check it out. And not only do we have that, we also have a little wrap party for the last game of the season with the Coyotes. I know this isn't a Coyote show, but pull through anyways because I'll be there. April 13th, final Coyote game of the season. Pull through wearing your shirt, or you can get it there. But it's a tremendous shirt, and if you don't like the Coyotes, that's your problem. But there's plenty of other shirts you can get.
Also fair enough.
Also fair enough. So there's plenty of other awesome shirts you can get. WNBA is coming back soon. We got our awesome the GOAT X Factor shirt that's on there. New Slim Valley Reaper shirt that dropped recently. We got some. Just get geared up for the summer. It's finally t-shirt season again. So go get yourself a t-shirt. Obviously got exclusive. Like I said, we got hats. There's sticker packs on there. They got this exclusive Die Hard hoodies. There's great stuff at the PHNX locker. So become a Die Hard today. You get discounts on our events, merch, stuff like that too. If you're a baseball person, we may or may not have some D-backs events coming up this summer. So become a diehard now while you still can. Well, you'll always be able to become a diehard. But come now. Don't waste any time.
Absolutely. And while we're on the topic of baseball for a second, I know Mac brought it up earlier, guys. ASU baseball, they got GCU tonight. Big game. We know what happened with ASU basketball the one time they got ranked. They got beat. They got beat pretty bad.
Yeah.
ASU baseball, don't be that guy. Go out there on a Tuesday, take care of business against your crosstown baby brother.
Who you knocked out of the rankings earlier this year. The turntables have reversed.
It really is like the little brother. Like they beat them, took their candy, and like now you get to go do it again.
Yeah. It's funny because like U of A is our big brother in a lot of ways because it's like we can't pick on them, so we're going to pick on GCU. But then this is like this. We just got to the point where you just beat your big brother in one-on-one for the first time. And so you're like, fuck you and fuck you. I run this shit. And so now it's
the middle child.
Yeah, now the middle child is running this shit.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party, baby.
We'll see if they're really running it tonight. Yeah. You got to beat GCU. We talked a little bit yesterday about how big some of these Prove It series, Prove It games are. You got GCU today. You got Washington over the weekend, then Arizona and Oregon State. Take care of business on the road. I know GCU, everybody hears GCU and they kind of throw it away. GCU, I want to say they have one of the best shortstops in the nation. And if it's not a shortstop, they have one of the best players in the nation over there. That's part of the reason why they were in the top 25 earlier in the season. So take care of business on the road. That's what I need to see tonight. Move the season along, right? Beat who you're supposed to beat.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is obviously not just an ASU baseball thing. This is ASU sports in general. It's like, okay, you were doing it when no one was putting any pressure on you. Now there's a number next to your name. Are you going to be able to keep it up? And like I said, turntables have turned. You win. Like Mac is saying exactly what I was getting at. You look at where they were last time when they played GCU. All the pressure was on GCU. GCU, I believe, was the 25th ranked team in the nation.
Yeah. There's something about being right on the edge.
Yeah, and they were right on the edge. ASU came in there at a time when ASU had not really been playing great baseball up until that point and smacked them. I think they put up 11 runs on them, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, it was an 11-1 win. They destroyed them. So now it's a question, okay, now, like Max said, that it's a completely opposite situation. All the pressure's on you. Are you going to be able to hold up in that situation? I have faith in this team because they've been playing just lights out baseball recently, regardless of the opponent, regardless of where they're at. And so I have a lot of faith in them to keep it rolling. Obviously, it's a road game, but hardly, right? Like you're going down the street, essentially. And you also don't want to be dropping these midweek non-conference games. Like don't lose those. Like, you can lose a game in a series against an opponent, but you get one opportunity. Obviously, it's the second opportunity playing GCU, but you get one opportunity to beat one of these teams. You got to take it. But I feel good. They've been playing well, and the pitching has shown up. Like, the pitching has been there. They held Washington State to a run and 2 runs the last 2 games. Like, if they're doing that, if you're putting ASU baseball in a situation where the offense only needs to score 3, 4, 5 runs to win a game,
that's huge.
I'm taking ASU in that situation every single time.
Yeah.
So I feel good. I feel real good about this team.
Before we get out of here, I mean, you brought it up, right? Like, you don't want to be losing these midweek non-conference games. And I know it's just there's a lot of games in this season, but take a look at ASU basketball.
Mm-hmm.
How far would one extra non-conference win against whoever? How far would that have gone in terms of March Madness or seeding or whatever, right? So, like, it's April 11th. It's a Tuesday. You're looking at GCU. There's still a lot of games left on your schedule, but when it's all said and done, are you going to be looking back at the end of the season of like, damn, I really wish we would have had one more.
Exactly.
That would have changed the course of our season.
Yep.
So go get it done on the road against GCU. Again, to your point, it's really across the street. If you're watching live, go out there, go support ASU. Should be a relatively competitive and good game. Guys, that's going to do it for us today. Can't believe we do this every time where it's like, let's keep it relatively short, and somehow we managed to talk for an hour about 5 guys. So if you enjoyed the content, give us a follow at PHNX Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony _Totri. You could follow the man who is not here but has a mustache at Shane Deef, and you can follow Shawn DePause at Shawn _DePause.
The guy with the other mustache, as always.
We will see you guys live at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, a.k.a. Hump Day. But for now, guys, peace.